Hi, welcome guys. In this tutorial, we're going to get started with Express. So I'll show you how to install, use Express, and create APIs with Express. So I'm assuming you're quite familiar with Node.js, and then we can get started. So the tools that we need for this is just you should have Node.js installed. Yeah, if you're running Mac, Ubuntu, any other Linux operating system, things should be straightforward. Yes, if you don't have Node.js already installed, search on the internet and then you can install Node.js. Then you can get back to this video. I'm going to show you how to install Node.js in this video. Yeah, so to get started, let's open up terminal. And I'm using Room. I'm recording this, so you might see Room popping up here and there, trying to make sure that everyone knows that we're using their product. Okay, so first of all, we need to create a folder that is going to house our project. So you can go to any directory in your computer, and then we create a folder there. So in this case, let me check which directory I am. Okay, I'm in this directory. Then got a number of stuff in here. Okay, I'm going to create a directory. I'm going to name it anyway, you can give it any name. Express. Okay. App. No. Okay. Express 1. Okay, because it's your first application. Yeah. So we have Express 1 there. So we should cd into Express 1, and then we check. We shouldn't find anything in there because it's a new folder that we've just created. So let's create another folder in there inside our Express. We'll call it source. So this folder, it's the one that will be keeping all your JavaScript applications. So files, yeah, application files, not applications. Like applications is a big thing. So your JavaScript application files for the server side. So in this case, when we check what is there, we already have one thing in there, which is just our source src folder. So whilst we're still outside this folder but inside the Express 1 folder, let's install Express. So I'm using yarn for the package manager. Yes, you can use npm for that. You can find out if you don't have yarn installed, you can learn how to install yarn from the internet, and you can also learn how to install npm. But the idea is, if you install Node, you're supposed to install npm because these are bundled together. Yeah, I don't know when they started doing this, but that's how they do it now. So you should have npm installed, and then you can use npm to install yarn, and then you can have yarn there, or you might just do the same command, follow the same command but that I'm doing with yarn. You can do them with npm. So in here, I'm going to add Express. So before you add Express, you need to initialize your yarn package manager so that it starts learning, or it starts knowing the packages and dependencies that you're going to use towards this project. So to begin with, you can do yarn init If you are using Ion, if you're using NPM, you can do NPM in it. It's supposed to give you the same thing. So here we're just going to run through a bunch of questions that NPM and Yarn asks, just to get to know, to set up the certain things about our project. So it's asking us, okay, what's the project question, like name of our project? Then just press enter. It's supposed to give the default one, Express 1. Our version, this is version 1.0.0. Leave it that like that. Description, you can do description, you cannot getting started with Express. Spell that one wrong. Yeah, Express. Then entry point, you can just leave that one to the same one. Then question repository, if you've hosted you're getting this from GitHub, you can have a GitHub URL there to your repo, but in this case it's just like that. Then author, you can add your name, then I'll add Jobrian there. Then license, okay, we'll go with MIT, but I like in the future, I've seen somebody doing this. If it's in Zambia, we get to see maybe CBU and maybe Unza, yeah, Zika, yes, for licensing. But one day we'll get there. Private, leave it like that, and then those are just how many questions there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 questions. They shouldn't be hard to answer. So when you have done this, let's clear our screen so that we can have space there. When you're done with this, okay, let me do that. When you're done with that, you should be able to, okay, you should check your files. You should have a package.json file. So this file, you can call it like it contains data about our project. So any dependency that your project will be using will be added here. So we can go ahead and then add Express. So you do yarn add Express. With npm, you should be able to do npm install Express, then -- save. So what yarn is doing now from here, you check my local computer or my local machine to see if I've got Express installed. If it's not going to find that one, it will go to the internet and then check. So you must be connected to the internet when running this command. If you don't have, just be connected to the internet, yeah, to make everything easier for you. So it downloaded yarn and Express and all Express dependencies, and it has added them on our in our file called package.json. So in here, when we do this, we shouldn't be able to see anything, yeah. But if you, okay, yeah, so we've got node modules, and then there's yarn.log file. So node modules, package.json file just has the names of the dependencies that you are using in this project. The actual code for those packages or your dependencies is stored in the node modules. So if you're coming with the background from C and all that, you know that there's a header file somewhere, and then you get to import those header files. Any imports, you're supposed to have a location where the actual code for those imports is. So you can think of it in those terms, like node modules. That's where our yarn is going to be adding all those dependencies of our project, the actual code dependencies, code for the dependencies of our project. So at this stage now, we can get coding. So to get coding, I'll spin up I'm using VS Code. So I'll spin up VS Code for this one. So if you have any other kind of editor, Atom, Sublime, Notepad++, and all those editors. Just make sure that you open your code, your folder that is housing our code in your code editor, so that you can start adding some files in there. So here, I'll do that. Then I'll say open folder there, and then should be there. Yeah, and then VS Code is supposed to do everything for us. Yeah. So, okay, so we're ready. We have our project now. We can work on our project. So our interest is in this file here, in this folder here. So this folder, just if you're using VS Code, oh yeah, this is what I was talking about. So you've seen node modules. It says quite a number of things: my media, inherit, range, pacer, all those things that are dependent when you're using Express. So when we get to the folder, click on the folder code package, on the file code package.json, then you see the basic questions that we had answered at first when initializing Yarn. What's the description, the name of our project, the version, and the entry point, which is index.js, author, and licenses. And then there's another field that has been added here called dependencies. Now under this field called dependencies, that's where you're going to that's where Yarn will be adding all the dependencies of our project. So far we only have one, which is Express there. When we add more, they'll fall under here, the dependencies section. So that's why you know what kind of dependencies a project is using, if you have issues and all that. So let's go to the source folder, then let's create a file in there. We're going to name it app.js. Okay, then in here, that's the one, don't mind VS Code there. Yeah, so in here, that's where we're going to have the app will be our server, and this is why we're going to have the code that does the logic that the server want that to be done on the server side. So first thing is first, we will import Express. So we have Express. To do that, you say you must be familiar with some JavaScript terms, and way of doing things, also the syntax, so that this thing should be easier for you. So require Express. So we just need Express for that, because it's the one that will be used for our route. So require Express, then we can have const, then app equals to Express that. So we required Express, and then we have Express there. We're initializing Express in the app with the Express object. So initialization, these are objects. So to initialize is basically to let know that this class, I want to create an object out of this class. So in this case, we're using Express, then the brackets, like we are calling a function, but it's actually a method, which is supposed to be a constructor in there. Yeah, so those familiar with Java, object-oriented programming languages, this will be easier for you. But those coming from function-oriented languages, just look up on objects and object initialization. You will be able to figure out what is happening. But otherwise, it's simple. It's just letting us to start now using the methods that Express class has. So we can now start using that to say app dot, then we all have our exposed methods that Express has for us. We can do apply, arguments, bind, and some of them should be, no, it should be lambda, no, inbuilt, like inbuilt functions, but anyway, don't mind lambda inbuilt functions, but we're just looking for something called get. Yeah, so before I go any further, Express just makes use of the available concepts that has always been there. That's REST. So you hear people saying REST API with Express, REST API with SOAP, REST API with, should be something that was used by Facebook, and then Facebook stopped supporting it, and most people had to migrate from that one to SOAP and these others. So what is REST? So you can search up on the website, you find some articles that just handle the concept of REST APIs and what is involved, but the major thing is just the way on how you are accessing your data from the server, or how your data is supposed to be accessed on the server. So the entry point between the client and the server, they talk through what are called API endpoints. Yes, there's also that term that they use for these things. They're called API endpoints. So through the endpoints, that's where your client application is going to communicate. So if you are doing your Ajax calls from your website and then front-end website to our server, we need to communicate at a certain point. So our server will be exposing these endpoints. That will be our entry point. So we've got quite a number of endpoints or REST API points. So we've got get. Get will allow you to, when you're getting something, so let's say a list from the database, give me a name from a database, searching something from a database, use get. Post, meaning our client is bringing in data to the server, so the server is expecting data from that URL, and then you can either write your data to the database and do some things with the data and then give back your feedback. So that was get. Post, then you've got delete, meaning you're deleting something from the database, from the server supposed to delete something somewhere. Then you've got put, that's you are updating something from in the database. So it's just basically those that we usually use. There's patch and then all others. Patch and put, they usually act like the same, but they're not the same. With patch, you just update certain part of your data. With put, it updates the entire part of your data. So the first endpoint that we're going to expose is through the get. So in here, you see app.get, because app is an object of Express, and then it has some methods that are exposed that we can use to create endpoints. So the first argument here, you should be familiar with arguments also. Parameters and arguments, the concept of that's functions. Yeah, so calling a function with that expects arguments, calling a function that doesn't expect arguments. You should be familiar with all those terms. If you're not, you can just read up. It's just a 2 minutes read, then you should be able to know what is happening. So the first argument, it takes varying number of arguments. I've forgotten the right term that you call such kind of a function, but it varies. So there's some of those that just expect 2 items, let's say A and B, meaning first name and last name, and then they start working. And you give them first name, last name, and the middle name, then the function doesn't exist, and then you won't go anywhere except errors, because you have errors because such a function doesn't exist. But with this one, it varies, so you can just push any number of functions, any number of arguments in there. So the first argument that it expects is a router. interested. Yeah. So it's something that will tell the client to use if they want to access this kind of endpoint. So in this case, I'll say that and then say something. Then the second one, you can have varying numbers, but the second one will use it as a callback function. So that's a word buzz over there, callback functions. So this function, I'm going to explain it to you. This function, or what it does is our entry point to our program. So it's not us writing the Node.js engine. Somebody else wrote the Node.js engine, just writing our servers on top of the Node.js engine, and then which basically I don't know whether it communicates or anything, but which extends all those HTTP functionalities. So we do not dictate how the data is supposed to be moved from our server to the client. So we just our part is just to accept that descend on a certain port, accept data from that certain port, and then dish out and then pull up data from that certain point. There are other underlying technologies that do that for us. With us, we just know which one to let go and which one to use. So when our client accesses this API at this with this kind of syntax or this kind of URL, the Node.js engine will give our application a trigger to say somebody wants to talk to you. This client is trying to talk to you at this point, and then our entry point for Node.js engine with our server will be through this point, which is called a callback. So we call it a callback because we can continue doing things, but then when it's done, when whatever application that is external from our application, the server side, will give out data through this point. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So the first argument is called RQ. You can give it any name that you want, but it's just a standard with these guys. If you're expecting any data from the client, you find it at the first argument, which is the RQ standing for request. And then if you want to give out data back to the client, you're supposed to give out data through the RS, which is response. Simple. Yeah. So if we're accepting something from the server, so we can find it at RQ dot something there. We should be able to find all the data that the client is bringing to our server. And if we want to respond with their RS, and then things will just flow smoothly. Yeah, back to the server, back to the client. I mean, so here we're responding through this point response dot send response dot send. Yeah, it's a function given it. So these we expect them to say they are objects. Yeah, it's a function. Then we can write something here. So you can just say thinking of something nice, like food, nice like in terms of food. So yeah, so this is our response. So we've created our first endpoint, but our server since you know the concept of servers and clients and servers, a server listens on a certain port, and then for certain queries, it always listens. So we need to make our server listen at a certain point. To do that, we can just use app.listen. Simple methods. Even this one, the first argument is the port at which our application listens to. So I'm going to use 3000 with this one. Then you can use any 415, but it should be one of the ports that are available on your machine. So 3000 for this one, and another callback, but with this one it's kind of like a custom callback per se, because all we want to do is to display to the user that no, the server is now running. Server is running on port 3000. Yes, like that. So we're done. So we can start this application and it run. Okay, so save that, and then let's go back to our okay, let's go back to our terminal, and then let's see what we have there. Okay, we are in the Express1 folder. Then let's cd into our source directory. Then we do that, we should be able to find app.js. Then with the app.js, we just do node app.js, and then there, server is craning on port 3000. It's supposed to be running, not craning. But anyway, we can resolve that one, correct that one later. So our server is running. So it's listening. Anyone who's trying to access this port, they'll be in touch with our server. So to do this, I'm using Postman. So you can look up Postman and all that, or you can, if you don't have Postman installed, you can just try to hit that endpoint with okay, from the browser. You should be able to do that. Okay, just give me a second. I get my Postman somewhere I want it. Okay, Postman testing express, save. Okay, we can do that, and then we can save these in that tutorials. So now you should be able to test your applications. That's George. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the server, our server is using get, and then when you click this link here, you have a number of options that you can use that should be readily available with Express. So we've got get, post, put, patch, delete, copy, head, options, link, unlink, page, lock, unlock, prop, find, view. You guys, when you get deep into these things, you get to use most of these, but mostly just the basic ones: get, post, put, and delete, and a bit of patch. Yeah. So ours is on get. Then we can do HTTP, again localhost, then our port, don't forget that, then say something. I hope I'm getting this one right. Let's see. Okay, so we are not getting something right there. Let me just go back and check if I was say something. So it's supposed to be slash say something. So what are we writing? Say something. copy that link. Okay, paste that there. Then we do that. Yep. I don't know, we're missing something in there. Should be some spelling of some sort. So this is the response that we get. Think of something, summer thing nice, like in terms of food. So this, you would imagine this is what our server will be sending to the client that accesses this endpoint. Say something. So having that in mind, you can clap for yourself because you've just created your first REST API with Express. So we can go ahead now and add more routes. So to add more routes is just easy now. There, and then you say, what kind of a route is it? It's a post. Okay. So say post something. Yes, again, same signature. Request. I can also just put the response in there, and then I'm responding. .send. You say I have created the sent document. Okay, no, I want something like this. Say something like give me a document to create. So meaning this one's supposed to expect something from us, from this client. Then we can have another one, ap dot that was post. Another one is put. Say put something. Again, same signature. Request, give me the response. I will respond with that from there. Then I'm responding. .send. Then you say give me data to edit. Then another one, put, then app.delete. App.delete, yes, slash delete. Not there. Let's delete something. Then function. I'll listen from there, and then I'll respond from there. Then a response, send back the response. Then you can say give me something to delete. To delete app.patch, same signature, patch something. Then you can same signature function. I will listen from there. I'm going to respond from there. Then I'll say send. What have I been typing? Yes.send. Give me data to patch. There. So you can now save. Then you can go back to our terminal. Then you can press Ctrl+C. Then we can clear our screen there. Then you can restart our node app saver. like that. So our app is listening. Let's go back to Postman. So we've tested this route. Now let's test the post route. We said post something. If I'm getting that right, I should be able to say, okay, give me a document to post, to create, because post creates something. So we're assuming we had data, and then the data came through the URL. We're able to read the data from the URL, and then we are supposed to create an object in a database. So it doesn't matter what database you are using, whether you're using Neo4j, you are using Rethink DB, you're using all sorts of databases, MongoDB, then you just do your database operations from there in that route. Then we can do put. They said put something. Yeah, give me data to edit. So we imagine there's this data that has to edit from the database. So now this one comes with data. The client sends data from in the URL. You read that data again, and then you get to edit the data in your respective database. Then use patch. Okay, patch something. Give me data to patch. Patch and put, there's clearly some minor difference, but I can explain them later. So okay, you have an object that has username and first name and password. When you use put, then you just send username and password. Then you update. You are going to lose. You have an object has username, first name, and password. You use put to send data, then you just give it username, then you should be able to lose first name and the password in there, because put assumes that you're editing everything. It's rewriting everything. With patch, you use patch, meaning you can edit certain parts of the what? Of your object or your data in your database. So you have a username, you have your password, and you have a first name. Then when you use patch, and then you send in just the username will be edited, but you still get to keep the password and the first name. But with put, you just give it one data, you should be able to lose this other data. So you have to rewrite them. So that's kind of like a difference between patch and put. Yes, you can test them, see how they work, but we usually bypass them with the algorithms that we get to write on the server side. But that's how it's supposed to work. Then the last one, it's delete. So we're saying delete something. Send. Give me something to delete. Here they give you an object, assuming it's an object ID, you just go to the database, delete, it's out of there. So simple. That's how you get to write your APIs. Now, caution, safety. Once somebody has access to APIs, they should be able to get in, and they know the kind of structure of your APIs. They should be able to get in and compromise the data, which is something that you're not doing, especially if you are developing a financial application. Yeah. So how do you do safety? So when you you get a page from the cybersecurity guys, hackers, guys who are responsible with damaging things, making other people's lives miserable. They'll show you that certain sources of vulnerabilities is the use of free applications, free or common libraries, open source libraries, all those things, because they are readily available to the public, so they're subjected to scrutiny by these guys. So Express, so that's that Express. Okay, some guys that did Express. So most of the people use Express, and then these bad guys, hackers, they spend tons and tons of time trying to figure out how they can break into Express. So the first thing that you don't want to do is to tell users or these bad guys that you're using Express. So how do they know? So I have access. If they have access to your endpoint, and then they use it through Postman and any other applications, when you go on the header here, you see there X powered by. It says Express, and voila, they know it's Express. Then they can figure out, they can narrow it down that okay, this site they're using Express, and then they search for vulnerabilities that Express has, and I'm sure they're able to find some before you even have a time to patch Express. So to do that, you need to keep them guessing whether they don't know whether you're using Express or some other form of kind of Express until they get to figure that one out. You should be out of the danger. So how do you do this? Okay, power has just gone, which is a bad thing, but yeah, it's bad. To do this, you just need to get let's Control C, we leave our applications out of there, and then okay, Zesco is bad here. Yeah, they're doing us bad, these guys. Okay, power is back. So to do that, there's an application called Helmet. So just like the helmets that these guys wear when they're going to war, it's the same application that is there. Oh, it's a package actually. So we're going to install Helmet. So you do yon add Helmet. The same thing, do the same thing with npm. You should be able to get Helmet, and we have Helmet being installed, and there we have Helmet. When we get back to our application, there we should say const Helmet equals to require Helmet, and then before we do anything, we say app. Nope. Okay. After that, we say app dot use, and then just throw in Helmet in there. Then you can save. We can go back to our application. Let's clear, and then we can run our server back node app.js. Our node is listening. When we go back, we can say delete, something to delete, but when we go to headers, and then there, you won't know which kind of framework I'm using for my APIs, and then if they can't know, then you are good. So that's how you write an APIs with Express, Node.js, and then that's how you get to protect them. It's the first layer of protection before you even add other kind of layer of protection with your routes. So that's it from me, and happy coding.